Hello, and welcome back to the Hot Take, the Heart of the Teaching. I apologize for not getting one last week, but we'll continue where we are, pick up where we were left off, just jump right into it. So we'll now start beginning to talk about the seven masters. So it's kind of a real brief overview. These were renowned Buddhist thinkers that Shinran used to legitimize Jodo Shinshu. Although they did not directly learn from each other, Shinran creates this lineage through their thinking, going all the way back to the Buddha. So he picks them because they're both important to Buddhism in general, and then they also have specific contributions to Shinran's thought. So it starts with masters in India, where the Buddha's from, then goes to China and Japan, chronologically traveling with Buddhism's spread throughout Asia. So the first two are India, that's what we're going to now, Nagarjuna and Vasubandhu. So going into Nagarjuna, Bodhisattva Nagarjuna states in the commentary on the 10 Bodhisattva stages. Okay, so now reading from the passage in the Pure Land Way. If a person desires quickly to attain the stage of non-retrogression, he or she should, with a reverent heart, say the name, holding steadfast to it. When persons doubt, as they plant roots of good, the lotus in which they gain birth will not open, but for those whose Shinjin is pure, the flower opens, and immediately they see the Buddha. Okay, so backing up a little bit, we talked about the stage of non-retrogression. So this is the level where you will unfailingly attain enlightenment, that you never fall backwards once you reach this stage. And then to, with a reverent heart, say the name, hold steadfast to it. This is to quickly attain the stage. And this is the difference between the easy path and the difficult path. So this is the key thing that Nagarjuna contributes in Shinran's thought to the Pure Land Way, is that there's this difference between an easy path and a difficult path. So for the monks, for people who are capable of true practice, for people who are able to practice for years and study for years, to meditate for years, those who are capable of doing it, that is a legitimate way of attaining enlightenment, of understanding Buddhism, and it's often called the path of the sages, rightfully so, because those people who can do that are, these incredible, very intelligent, very wise people. But that is not the way for everyone. So if that is the difficult way, then there is the easy way, which is the Nembutsu path, which is Jodo Shinshu. And that is the direction that we're trying to go. So instead of spending a lot of time and a lot of effort, as it would be in the difficult path, Nagarjuna sets up this other path, this easy path, in which you can very quickly attain enlightenment. So it's kind of a technicality, right? Because it's not enlightenment itself, but it's like being able to get into the place that will eventually get you into enlightenment. But that is the only way that Shinran thought he could do it, and that's the way that we continue to do it today. So going into the next part of what Nagarjuna put, when persons doubt as they plant roots of good, the lotus which they gain birth will not open, but for those whose Shinjin is pure, the flower opens, and immediately they see Buddha. So we again start to see this idea of doubt versus faith, or right here it's reverent heart is how they put it. When you have doubt, then supposedly in the Pure Land, when you were born there, you aren't just born like you are in this world, where no obstructions or anything, you're just in the world, but rather you're born within a lotus. And this lotus, you can hear what's going outside a little bit, but it's muffled, but you can't see anything really. And you have to wait for a long time, and then the lotus will open, and then you're able to appreciate the Pure Land. So there's this kind of mythology going on to get people to steer away from the idea of doubting. So that's really the purpose of this, is to show the fallacy of doubt, and that you have to have this reverent heart. And this is what's important to, in the Pure Land, immediately seeing the Buddha, but of course in this life to really understand and get a benefit from the teaching. So we're already starting to hear these differences between doubt and faith, or doubt and the trusting heart, and how important that is. Now the passages on the Pure Land Way goes into the second Indian master, Bodhisattva Vasubandhu. And it says, Bodhisattva Vasubandhu states in the treatise on the Pure Land, "O world-honored one, with mind that is single, I take refuge in the Tathagata of unhindered light, filling the 10 quarters, and aspire to be born in the land of happiness." So this is just kind of this introduction saying essentially what Namo Amida Butsu means, to take refuge in Amida Buddha. That is the Tathagata of unhindered light. And then Vasubandhu is doing it with a mind that is single. Also kind of hinting at this idea of like a pure mind, or this mind that is not full of doubt. And then the light that's filling the 10 quarters is all the directions. So the idea that Amida's light touches all things. The 10 quarters is, I think it was north, east, south, west, northeast, southeast, southwest, northwest, and then like the zenith and the nadir. So supposedly all the directions is where it's just a kind of complicated way of saying everywhere. And then aspiring to be born in the land of happiness is another aspect of Shinjin, of the mind, where it's not simply just trusting or knowing or something, but there's also this aspiration. So relying on the sutras, in which the manifestation of true and real virtues is taught, I compose a gatha of aspiration, a condensation that accords with the Buddha's teachings. So Vasubandhu himself created a condensation of the Buddha's teaching and put it into gatha form, or this kind of Buddhist, I don't know, hymnal, I think is what a lot of people say, but more like verse, right? Like a Buddhist verse or poetry or something. So relying on the sutras himself, Vasubandhu created this gatha that would also condense the heart of the teaching to try to explain it for others after him. Contemplating the power of the Buddha's primal vow, I see that no one who encounters it passes by in vain. It quickly brings to fullness and perfection the great ocean of virtues. So now him reflecting on the power of the primal vow, Vasubandhu realizes that anyone that comes in contact with the Nembutsu teaching never passes by it in vain, as he puts it. So everyone that comes in contact with it gets some kind of benefit. It quickly brings to fullness and perfection the great treasure ocean of virtues. So again, this idea of easy practice, this idea of quick practice, of the benefiting very fast, and this great treasure ocean of virtues is again referencing the realm of enlightenment, the Tathagata that is constantly surround us, the benefits of Amida Buddha, and the way to open up this storehouse, to open up everything, is through the power of the Buddha's vow. So Shinran talks about Vasubandhu's words, and he says, with these passages from the sacred words of the Buddha and from the treatises, we know in particular that the great practice is not a foolish being's practice of directing his or her own merit toward attainment of birth. It is the fulfilled practice that Amida directs to beings out of great compassion, and therefore is called not directing virtue on the part of beings. This practice indeed embodies the primal vow in which the Nembutsu is selected and adopted. It is the supreme, all-surpassing, universal vow. It is the true and wondrous right Dharma that is the one vehicle. It is the unexcelled practice that perfectly embodies all good acts. So Shinran takes from what Vasubandhu was saying, this idea that it quickly brings about fullness perfection, that no one passes by it in vain, and he interprets this as being that the Nembutsu is this great practice which is not done by regular people but is done by Amida Buddha, and that the practice is very, very important, and so it is the one that is selected or and adopted. It's the supreme one. So out of all the teachings, Vasubandhu and Nagarjuna, they recognize the importance of the Nembutsu teaching, and because of their words, it convinces Shinran, or rather Shinran uses their words to convince others that it is true that the Nembutsu is a very important teaching, one that was selected out of the many teachings of the Buddha that would be able to benefit a great number of beings. So Shinran continues, the word naishi, even, in the passages from the larger sutra, is used to indicate an upper or lower limit while omitting what is in between. In the second passage, ichinen, saying the name once, indicates single-heartedly practicing the Nembutsu. Single-heartedly practicing the Nembutsu is a single voicing. A single voicing is saying the name. Saying the name is constant mindfulness, and constant mindfulness is right-mindedness. Right-mindedness is the true act that brings about birth in the Pure Land. So Shinran is referencing the primal vow, the vow in the sutra that Amida makes, which talks about how many times someone says the Nembutsu. So he's getting kind of into the semantics, but it's the idea that even 10 times if someone says it, that it would be enough for them to attain birth in the Pure Land. However, Shinran is making it even less than that. So he's saying that there is like this upper or lower limit, which is like even 10 times, but ultimately what it means is even once. So Shinran continues, further, Naishi Ichinen in no way refers to one thought in contemplation on the Buddha's virtue, or to one utterance in repeated recitation of the name. As the first passage shows, Naishi Ichinen, even one thought moment, refers to the ultimate brevity and expansion of length and time in which one attains the mind and practice, i.e. Shinjin and Nembutsu, that result in birth in the Pure Land. Let this be known. So Shinran doubles down on the ability of the Nembutsu to quickly and decisively determine one's birth in the Pure Land, saying it takes only one thought moment, which is the smallest measure of time, the time it takes to have a thought, to attain it. So as Vasubandhu was saying that it quickly and decisively attains birth, Shinran looks at the sutra and takes from the primal vow why this is. Like, even though it says even 10 times, what it means to him is that even one thought moment of the Nembutsu. And that's why Vasubandhu says that anyone that comes in contact with the Nembutsu will have the benefit. So this idea that the Nembutsu teaching can help people no matter how quickly or small they're able to come into contact with the teaching, either way they will open up the treasure house, because it isn't our personal practice, it isn't any individual being's practice, but it's Amida's practice that is directed toward us, and that's why we're able to attain it so quickly. Okay, so that was a real quick introduction to the first two seven masters. We'll see the other ones later, and that finishes up the chapter on practice, right? So we did teaching, practice, and then we'll now go into Shinjin for next week. All right, thank you. Bye.